The grocery store buzzed with the usual weekend hustle, cashiers ringing up orders, children tugging at their parents, and the faint sound of Christmas carols playing in the background. And there, we have a young mother, Claire, her face flushed with worry as she loaded basic groceries onto the conveyor belt. Her son, 8-year-old Tommy, clung to her coat, his eyes darting toward a chocolate bar he knew better than to ask for. Her teenage daughter, Lily, who was a little upset as she couldn't pick all she wished she could, for obvious reasons. Claire counted her bills nervously, aware of the growing line behind her. She hesitated, picking and choosing which items to remove from her cart as her total exceeded the cash in her hand. Before we continue with this story, please like, share, and hit the subscribe button. We count on you to help us through this journey. And do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Thank you. Claire is a single mother who had been raising her 2 children, Tommy and Lily, on her own for the past 4 years. Her husband, Mark, had tragically passed away in a construction accident while working to provide for their family. Mark was a devoted father and husband, and his untimely death left Claire devastated, not just emotionally but also financially. The loss plunged the family into a cycle of hardship, forcing Claire to take on multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet while still trying to be present for her kids. Despite her struggles, Claire was fiercely determined to provide a sense of normalcy for Tommy and Lily. She prioritized their education and well-being, often sacrificing her own needs. She lived in a modest apartment, barely able to keep up with the rent, but she created a warm, loving environment for her children. Her resilience was a defining trait, though she carried the weight of her struggles silently, not wanting to burden anyone else. The man behind her in line, dressed in casual yet neat clothes, with a hoodie covering his face, noticed the situation. He leaned closer and spoke softly. "Put those back in the cart. I'll cover the difference." Claire turned to him, her expression a mix of surprise and gratitude. "I couldn't possibly," she began, but the man waved her off, insisting. "Let's make someone's day better," he said, offering a warm smile. Reluctantly, Claire agreed, and as the cashier scanned the remaining items, she glanced at the man. He looked familiar, but she couldn't place him. It might just be because of the hoodie he was wearing, or she was too overjoyed to accurately figure out who it was. Meanwhile, Claire's teenage daughter continues to stare at the stranger. She cited one tattoo on his neck and thought that the face looked quite familiar. As Claire packed up her groceries and thanked him profusely, he simply replied, "Take care of yourself and your family. That's all the thanks I need." Later that evening, at the modest apartment Claire shared with her children, Tommy couldn't stop talking about the kind stranger. "Mom, do you think he's a superhero? Maybe he's in disguise." Claire chuckled at her son's imagination, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that she knew the man from somewhere. The next morning, as Claire dropped Tommy off at school, her daughter Lily, a teenager with a sharp eye, brought up a startling discovery. "Mom, I saw his face on a magazine once. I think he's famous. Although I am not exactly sure if it's the person I think it was, but I cited the tattoo on his neck," she added. Claire asked, "Who do you think it was, Lily?" "Mom, I think that might just be Justin Bieber," Lily said. "No way," Claire exclaimed. "How could that be? What is he doing at the grocery shop by himself?" "No, it cannot be." Claire went on and on. Determined to unravel the mystery, Claire spent her limited free time searching online. Her heart skipped a beat when she stumbled upon a photo of a man who looked very much like Justin Bieber. However, it wasn't Justin, it was Elliot Grays, a reclusive tech billionaire known for his philanthropic efforts. She wasn't so sure, since he was wearing a hoodie on that day, she couldn't figure. A few weeks later, at the same grocery store, Claire spotted Elliot again. This time, she approached him, her heart pounding. "Excuse me, are you Elliot Grays?" His friendly demeanor didn't falter. "You caught me," he admitted with a grin. Claire couldn't contain her curiosity. "Why would someone like you shop here and help a complete stranger?" Elliot's expression softened. "Because it reminds me of where I came from. I know what it's like to struggle, and I promised myself I'd never forget. Elliot Grace is a self-made billionaire known for his sharp business acumen and philanthropic efforts. Despite his wealth and success, he had remained single, a choice influenced by his demanding career and a deep-seated fear of vulnerability stemming from his difficult childhood. Elliot had grown up in poverty, with an absent father and a mother who worked tirelessly to support him. Witnessing her sacrifices had instilled in him a strong work ethic and an unshakable sense of empathy for those struggling. Elliot's public image was that of a reserved and enigmatic man. While he was admired for his business achievements and generosity, few people knew the real Elliot, the man who carried the scars of his past and the guilt of having risen to success while others he knew remained trapped in poverty. His decision to remain unmarried wasn't from a lack of desire for connection, but rather from a sense of unworthiness and fear of letting someone down. Elliot revealed more of his past to Claire, how he had grown up in a struggling single-parent household and how a kind stranger had once helped his family during their toughest times. That simple act of kindness had inspired him to pay it forward whenever he could. Claire and Elliot's conversations grew deeper over the weeks. She also opened up Elliot about the struggles she has had to face since the passing of her husband. After Elliot met Claire and her children, and having listened, her story deeply resonated with him, as it mirrored aspects of his own mother's struggles. Over time, his interactions with Claire and her kids began to challenge his perspective on relationships and vulnerability. Seeing Claire's resilience and the love she shared with her children reminded him of the things money couldn't buy: connection, family, and purpose. Elliot began quietly supporting local families in need, and Claire became his unofficial partner in identifying those who could use a helping hand. Their efforts brought a wave of hope to the community. Claire and Elliot formed a close friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. While their relationship remained platonic, there was an undeniable bond between them, born from shared experiences and a desire to make life better for others. Tommy and Lily became fond of Elliot, viewing him as a role model and a friend, and their presence in his life brought out a softer, more human side of him. But not everyone was thrilled by the attention Elliot's actions drew. A powerful rival in the business world sought to tarnish his reputation, accusing him of using charity for publicity. The tension rose when Claire and her children became unwilling targets in this rivalry, as reporters invaded their lives, trying to uncover a scandal where none existed. Claire confronted Elliot, anger and fear in her voice. "Did you bring this into our lives just for a good headline?" Elliot's face darkened with regret. "I would never. I'll make this right." Elliot used his resources to expose the rivals' schemes, turning the narrative around. The experience only strengthened the bond between him and Claire's family. Just before Christmas, Elliot hosted a Christmas community event. He invited Claire, her children, and other families he had helped to the community event. As he gave a heartfelt speech about kindness and resilience, Claire realized the true impact of his generosity. As the community event progressed, Elliot's heartfelt speech stirred emotions among the gathered families. He recounted his struggles as a child, the cold winters without heating, the nights he went to bed hungry, and the shame of watching his mother work multiple jobs while barely making ends meet. He paused, his voice thick with emotion, as he described the day a kind stranger had handed his mother an envelope with enough money to buy groceries for a month. "That moment," Elliot said, scanning the faces in the crowd, "taught me that kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about seeing someone's pain and choosing to help, no matter how small the act may seem." Claire, standing with Tommy and Lily, felt a lump in her throat as she remembered how close they had been to losing hope before Elliot stepped in. She looked down at her children, both of whom were beaming with pride and joy. For the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe without the weight of worry crushing her chest. In a communal dinner, where Claire found herself seated at a table with Elliot and a few other families. As they exchanged stories of struggle and resilience, the atmosphere became one of camaraderie and hope. It was a rare moment of unity, where barriers of wealth and status melted away, leaving only human connection. Later, Claire pulled Elliot aside. "I don't know how to thank you. What you've done for us, and for everyone here, goes beyond generosity." Elliot smiled, his eyes kind but unwavering. You don't need to thank me. What you're doing, raising two amazing kids, staying strong despite everything life has thrown at you, is the real inspiration. As they spoke, Tommy tugged on Elliot's sleeve. Mr. Grays, can I ask you something? Elliot crouched down to meet Tommy's gaze. Of course, buddy. Tommy hesitated, then asked, if you were poor before, how did you become rich? Did you wish on a star? Elliot chuckled, then replied, no, Tommy. I worked hard, learned as much as I could, and never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. But I also had help, people who believed in me and gave me a chance. That's why I try to help others now. The evening ended with a surprise announcement from Elliot. Standing before the gathered crowd, he revealed his plan to launch a local foundation aimed at supporting families in need. Named the Bridge Foundation, it would provide resources for struggling families to get back on their feet, groceries, housing support, job training, and scholarships for children. The crowd erupted in applause, and Claire felt tears streaming down her face. She had witnessed firsthand how much of a difference Elliot's kindness could make. In the months that followed, Claire began volunteering at the foundation. Inspired by Elliot's generosity, she wanted to be part of the change. Through her efforts, she helped connect families to resources and shared her story to inspire others. Tommy and Lily, too, found ways to contribute, Tommy by drawing pictures for families visiting the foundation and Lily by tutoring younger children. However, not everything went smoothly. Elliot faced ongoing backlash from skeptics who questioned his motives. One day, Claire overheard someone at the foundation whispering, "He's just doing this for the headlines." The comment lit a fire within her. During a community meeting, Claire stood up to speak. "I've heard people question Elliot's intentions, and I want to set the record straight. He didn't ask for attention or recognition when he helped my family. He just saw someone struggling and acted out of kindness. Isn't that what we all should strive to do?" Her words resonated, silencing the critics. Meanwhile, Elliot continued to face personal challenges. A tabloid article surfaced, dredging up his difficult past and framing it as a scandal. The tabloid article did not uncover anything incriminating about Elliot in terms of illegal activity or unethical behavior. Instead, it sensationalized his past, turning it into a scandalous narrative to draw attention. The article dug into Elliot's childhood struggles, highlighting his poverty-stricken upbringing, the absence of his father, and his mother's desperate attempts to make ends meet. It painted a picture of Elliot as a man who rose to wealth and power by abandoning those in need, implying that he had neglected his roots and forgotten where he came from. The article also questioned his philanthropic efforts, cynically suggesting that his generosity was a PR strategy to cover up an alleged lack of authenticity. It even claimed, without evidence, that he had cut ties with people from his past who had helped him during his early struggles. The piece was written in a way that combined fragments of truth with exaggerations and outright falsehoods, making it both damaging and misleading. Elliot was deeply affected by the article, not because it revealed any real wrongdoing, but because it twisted his story in a way that disrespected his late mother's sacrifices and painted his journey as self-serving. He worried that his efforts to help others might be overshadowed by the doubts the article raised, tarnishing his reputation and undermining the trust he had built with the people and communities he had supported. Claire stood by him, reminding him that the people who mattered knew the truth. She was a source of unwavering support during this time. She reminded Elliot that the truth of his character wasn't defined by gossip or half-truths. Claire encouraged him to focus on the people whose lives he had touched, people who knew the real Elliot and the integrity behind his actions. Her words grounded him, giving him the strength to address the situation calmly. Elliot responded to the scandal by issuing a heartfelt statement in which he candidly acknowledged his past, spoke of his mother's influence, and reiterated his commitment to giving back to others. Rather than fight the tabloid with legal threats, he chose to lead by example, doubling down on his philanthropic initiatives. In the end, the tabloid scandal backfired. Public opinion overwhelmingly rallied behind Elliot, admiring his transparency and resilience. Claire's loyalty and the authenticity of her belief in him played a pivotal role in his recovery, strengthening the bond between them and reaffirming the values they both held dear. Together, they turned what could have been a devastating blow into a moment of triumph and inspiration. A year later, at the grand opening of the permanent headquarters for the Bridge Foundation, Elliot invited Claire to cut the ribbon, a symbolic gesture acknowledging her role in inspiring the foundation's creation. He launched a new program specifically to support single mothers and their families in need, dedicating it to his late mother's memory. As the crowd cheered, Elliot leaned toward Claire and said, "This isn't just about me or you. It's about all of us coming together to make life better for others." Claire, now the new manager at the permanent headquarters, stood outside watching her children play in the foundation's new community garden. A place where families could gather and find hope. On the other side is Elliot, standing amidst a group of volunteers, his face lit with quiet satisfaction. What had begun as a simple act of kindness, a stranger paying for groceries, had blossomed into a movement that changed countless lives. The ripple effect of that one moment proved that the smallest acts of compassion could lead to extraordinary outcomes. The small act of buying groceries had sparked a chain of events that forever changed their lives, proving that even the simplest gestures could create ripples of change. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Home of Stories TV. And do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Drop your comments below, let us know your thoughts.